Hello and welcome to Writing Quest. My name is Brendan Pugh, and in today's episode we are going to talk about Scrivener, the Documents view, the Corkboard, and the Outline view. Huzzah! Alright, we are jumping right into the computer, and if you've watched our previous videos on Scrivener, in our first video we did a bit of an overview and just talked about the general program and everything about it, and then in the second one we talked about the binder specifically, which is this part over here on the left hand side. So if you have not been watching those, please go back and check those out so that you're caught up on everything that we have talked about so far. So in today's video, we are going to talk about specifically up here in the corner, we have the document view, we have the sub-document and corkboard view, and then we have the outlining view. And we're just going to kind of go through each of these sections. So here we go. The document view is pretty much exactly what you think it is. It is where you write the book. So if you watched our binder video, you'll know that depending on what you click in the binder, changes what you see in the document view. So for the most part, what the document view is going to be for is for writing the book. If you have multiple documents in here, and then for instance, let me put in some words here. If you click this and you go to the document view, it shows you your whole document in one whole line. So what's cool about this is I like to keep my chapters in two folders, and then I break up the chapters into separate documents for each particular part of the scene or scenes in the chapter. The reason I do that is because it makes it a little easier for me. It kind of breaks it up, and it's not so overwhelming trying to kind of write a whole chapter all at once. So I break it up a little bit more than most, but then after you've finished writing those chapters or those scenes, you can go here into this view and it'll stitch them all together for you so you can see it all as one document. If you go into the individual documents, of course, it will just show you that particular document. If you are in the whole, so you can do nested folders with the whole thing. So if you're in, say, my Act 1 folder here, which has got folders inside of folders, it's still going to show you every single document in a row. So it's kind of nice when, you're just trying to the nice thing about Scrivener is that you can see things in so many different ways. You can break things up as much as you want. So when I want to really focus, I can break it up and just look at this one particular document, or I can look at the whole thing if I'm reading it or editing it or just looking through and seeing how things flow. At the top, on the top bar here, you have your normal suspects for font and stylization of your text. So you can change the style, title, headings, centered text, caption, anything you want there. You can change the font under this, and it has all of these standard fonts you would find on any normal computer. You can change the regular italic, bold italic, the style of that font, and then of course font size, bold italic, underline, your alignment, etc., etc. It's pretty standard, pretty much anything you'd find in any sort of word processor or Word document editor. The next view, which is one of the best views, all three of these views are great, but this one is really quite cool, is called the Corkboard view. And if you switch over to the Corkboard view and you go to this, the Corkboard view only works if you have sub-documents. So for instance, if I go into my Act 1 folder, because I have this broken up into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, it's going to show me the synopsis card, like little index cards, for each one of my chapter folders. And what I've done is I've taken from my Notion outline, which if you haven't checked out those videos, you should, on how I outline in Notion. And I've taken the synopsises that I wrote for each chapter, I've imported them into Scrivener, and I've put each one on these little note cards here. And now you can see on chapter 1, looks like it has multiple. That's because I have multiple documents within that chapter. And then on the ones that I do not have multiple, such as 12 down here, there is just the one. So it stacks them up really nice. If you go into each chapter folder, it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to do it with your documents. So it's going to show you whatever documents you have, and it's going to show you the beginning of that however many, whatever paragraphs you've written at the beginning of the page. Shows you your titles and all that kind of stuff. What's also really cool about this, especially if you're just in the kind of outlining and brainstorming phase, is you can come right down here to the very, very bottom, and you have two views. You can keep cards arranged in order on a grid, or you can do a freeform corkboard. What's really cool about this is the freeform corkboard is really great for just ideas. So you're just throwing ideas around. It's like a big mess. Like imagine you have a big old table in front of you and you're just you're just laying out the cards. You don't have to keep them in any particular order. You can move them around however you like. This is a great way if you kind of like just freeform figuring things out, whatever you want. You can then, when you go back to the aligned view, the grid view, this is kind of where you would start putting things actually in order, and you can drag things around and it keeps things nice and snappy. I'm going to do those two things. The next couple of views for the corkboard are this arrange by label and corkboard options. So if you arrange by label, this is really great because you can kind of set this up as a timeline view. So I like this view for when you're starting to check pacing. So you can do different labels, say each one of these different colored labels as characters, and then this character is the main character of that chapter, this one comes back to this one, so on and so forth. What's really great about this is you can set up your labels to be different characters or however aspect you want, and then you can scroll through and you can kind of check your pacing of the novel. So are you staying with one character too long? Are you staying in one place too long? It's just a really great way to visualize it in a way that makes it easier for you to follow the pacing of your novel. That off, do that. And then you can go into the corkboard options, which just gives you a few different things you can change, like card size. If you want to see, if you're just kind of brainstorming, you just need a little tiny card, it's no big deal. Or if you're brainstorming and you like a big old card, you can do that too. Ratio changes how much length you see of each card. Spacing is pretty obvious. It gives you how much space in between each card. Cards across is auto, or you can change it to whatever you want, which will give you this view here, or you can do 2, 3. I like to keep it on auto because then it does what I want. And so those are just some of the corkboard options you have. And finally, we will go over to the outline view. And the outline view is probably the most in-depth view that Scrivener has in this main editor section. So you can set this up a lot of different ways and you can see lots of different information. For instance, looking at chapter 1 here, this is showing me a lot of things. It's showing me right here, this is my synopsis. If I clicked on this, this is the synopsis card. If you were to be in the corkboard view, it would be the same thing that you see on the index card. And then it lists all of my actual documents underneath the chapter. So I can have my chapter overview, and then I can have the kind of synopsis of each of my documents. The labels that you saw before from the timeline view would show up here, which are just labeled as colors right now, but you can change those. So whatever you would have done in the timeline view would show up and reflect here as well. Status is a really great one because you can change the status. Some might be in a revised version, some might be a first draft, some might just be to do and in progress. You haven't really worked on them. Section type is what part of the story it is, how it's structured, whether it's a chapter heading or a scene or whatever you want to do. These are all the preloaded things that Scrivener offers. Including compile is what you're including when you compile this and export it out as a manuscript. So this is kind of how you pick those options for that. You also have a progress bar, which if you've set progress for your story, then that will be a progress bar there. And then total word count for those particular documents, which for the chapter view, it'll show you the total words of every document. And then if you go to the documents, it'll show you total words for just that document. If you right click on this, you can see here that there are lots of other different options depending on what kind of information you want to see. Created date, modified date, word count, character count, pretty much whatever you are wanting to see, you can see in this view. What's also really cool about this is it's an outliner. So you can, I have a lot of videos about how to use Notion as an outliner. This is just another way to do that. You can brainstorm your chapters, you can start adding the scenes, and you can add the cards that you kind of decide what each one of those scenes is going to be. And so basically you just turn your book into this really nice outline view, which is just really great. If you go to the whole manuscript, it's going to show you, I have mine broke up Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, so I can see the whole thing. I can this chapter, I can put that chapter away. However you want to do it. It's a really awesome view. There's a lot of depth to it, a lot of ways you can view your information. So as a quick overview, let's just go back and recap quickly. We have 3 views in the main editor. The first view is the documents view, which is where you do the writing. This is where you actually write the book and put the words onto the metaphorical digital page. The Corkboard view is a view of note cards where you can throw down ideas, rearrange things, and kind of decide and brainstorm on the order and the synopsises of your story. And then you have the outline view, which is basically where you can see all of the information, outline your story, and it has pretty much anything that you'd want to see about the metadata of your project. That's it for this video on Scrivener. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something and enjoyed it. Please like and comment below if you have any questions. I'd love to hear from you. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to have a lot more videos like this. We put out new vlogs every single week about the process and the progress of my books and my stories. We also do videos on writing and how to make our writing better. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Brendan Pugh. This has been Writing Quest. Huzzah!